Picture this: a man who spent 27 years in prison, only to emerge as a global symbol of peace, resilience, and transformation. A leader who went from revolutionary to president, from prisoner to peacemaker. But beneath the inspiring story of Nelson Mandela, there are deeper, lesser-known truths, esoteric insights into his rise, his peak, and the gradual erosion of his influence. What strategic moves made him an icon? What hidden compromises did he make? And why did his vision struggle to fully materialize in later years? Stay tuned, because today on Monarch Mode, we uncover the unpopular truths about Nelson Mandela's rise and fall, and the powerful lessons you can apply to your own journey toward success. Nelson Mandela wasn't an overnight revolutionary. His rise was slow, deliberate, and filled with recalculations. Before he became the revered leader we know today, Mandela was part of a generation of African intellectuals who understood that freedom wasn't just about rebellion, it was about outlasting the system. In the 1940s, he co-founded the ANC Youth League, realizing that older activists were too passive in resisting apartheid. He didn't wait. He created a faction within a movement to accelerate change. He mastered patience. Before armed resistance, before global fame, he built a foundation of legal and ideological strength. Lesson: true power isn't just about force. It's about endurance, strategy, and waiting for the right moment to strike. If you're building something lasting, be prepared to play the long game like Mandela. Reinvention and adaptability, the key to survival. Many people forget that Mandela wasn't always a peaceful leader. In the early 1960s, he co-founded Umkhonto we Sizwe, meaning Spear of the Nation, an armed wing of the ANC. He shifted tactics from passive resistance to sabotage, understanding that change sometimes requires force. But here's the unpopular insight: Mandela was willing to evolve. When armed struggle didn't work, he didn't cling to it. Unlike many revolutionaries who die on their original ideology, Mandela adapted and later embraced negotiation and diplomacy. Hear this: if you want to rise to the top, you must know when to pivot. Clinging to one strategy forever is a losing game. The prison was a masterclass in leadership. Most people see Mandela's 27-year imprisonment as a period of suffering. In reality, it was his training ground. While at Robben Island, Mandela studied his enemies, befriended prison guards, and learned the Afrikaner mentality. He taught himself Afrikaans, the language of the apartheid rulers, allowing him to negotiate on equal footing later. He turned isolation into preparation. Lesson: instead of resenting setbacks, use them as training grounds. Hardship isn't just pain, it's preparation for a bigger role. The great compromise, the hidden cost of becoming a global hero. By the time Mandela was released in 1990, he wasn't just a South African leader, he was a global icon. But with that icon status came compromise. Here's the unspoken truth about his presidency. The ANC gained political power, but economic power stayed in old hands. Despite ending legal apartheid, economic apartheid remained intact. Wealth remained concentrated within white elites. Mandela chose reconciliation over radical economic reform, fearing civil war. Was this wisdom or weakness? That depends on how you define success. Hear this: leadership often means choosing practical stability over ideological purity. If you want long-term influence, sometimes you must compromise. But at what cost? Mandela excelled at political unity, but his economic reforms lacked bite. By the early 2000s, South Africa still had one of the most unequal economies in the world. The 1994 transition left many black South Africans expecting radical wealth redistribution, but it never came. Corporate interests, international forces, and Mandela's preference for stability led to a soft economic transition. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission brought justice symbolically, but economically, the past was never fully addressed. The result? Mandela left power in 1999, beloved but increasingly criticized for not pushing harder for economic justice. A great leader can win the political battle but still lose the economic war. Symbolic victories must be matched with structural change, or momentum is lost. Even the greatest leaders lose influence over time. After leaving office, Mandela's public appearances decreased. Later political figures, especially Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma, moved away from his reconciliation model. The world continued to celebrate him, but real power shifted to new hands. This is the natural law of power. Once your role is fulfilled, the system moves on. No leader, no matter how great, stays relevant forever. The goal should not be eternal power, but a lasting system that survives beyond you. Nelson Mandela's story isn't just history. It's a blueprint for those who seek to rise, influence, and sustain success. There are key lessons from Mandela's Monarch Mode. 1. Play the long game. Endurance beats quick rebellion. 2. Adapt your strategy. Reinvent yourself when necessary. 3. Use hardship as training. Pain is preparation for power. 4. Compromise is necessary, but beware the cost. 5. Winning the political battle isn't the same as winning the economic war. 6. No one stays on top forever. Build systems, not just legacies. Mandela rose from the ashes, conquered the political realm, and changed history. But his journey wasn't perfect. What's your biggest takeaway from Mandela's story? Was his compromise wise or a mistake? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe now to Monarch Mode Central for more deep dives into the rise and fall of reality's most powerful entities. Until next time, keep rising, keep building, and embrace your Monarch Mode. Adios.